I would be making the honk shoe, me sound.
Yeah. Once I get to bed, I'm out. There's my wife is like, she'd be like, did you hear that leaf hit the window last night? I'd be like, no, like,
dude, my wife is the exact same way. Like, I'll wake up, I'll be well rested. It'll be like, ba, 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 like, and I do the Snow White stretch and everything, and she just looks like she's all frazzled. Right. She's like, you exactly what you're talking about, dude. She's like, oh, my foot was just uncomfortable, and I was like, my body's uncomfortable, dude.
Like, I know. Yeah, I'm literally,
that's what the point of the bed is to be comfy when you're usually
terrible.
Not.
Yeah, I feel terrible constantly. Sleep is the best part. Yeah. No, I know. Once I go to sleep, because you see these people like the Huberman types, like, that are just like, if you the people that like track their sleep, which is like, that's fine. I do think that there is like a weird conspiracy theory behind all these nerds tracking their sleep, which fuck it, why not? What's the conspiracy behind that? Sure, Glenn. What is it, Glenn? Thanks for asking, J. David Osborne. Thank you. I'd be happy to
no problem.
Be happy to answer that. I think they have people tracking their sleep because like they're just like, oh yeah, we got to replace these guys. They sleep too much. Like,
right?
Tech companies, like, these guys are fucking lazy, dude. They care about sleep way too much, and like because it's all the tech guys that do that. Like, they're all like super hyper like tech guys. They're just like, oh my god, dude, I'm down like 3 points on sleep last night. And then like the guy who's taking over your job, I'm not gonna say who it is, but he's just like, I didn't.
You don't give a shit.
I literally did not sleep.
I just want to point something out real quick. What's up, Psi? It's 5:06, dog.
Whoa. I know.
From the 5 to the 6, we be in the mix with that rare candy paint job on the whip. I need food for the kids, money for the rent. Fuck a lockdown, baby, I can't do that shit. And I don't never vote, cause I'm fucking broke. And either way, I know the police ain't gon' leave me alone. On a plane by to visit Glen Rock, need crypto told me I should bring the Glock with me. So I packed up my piece and I'm sliding. Cause we might get caught up in a riot. Middle finger Trump, middle finger Biden. Fuck a left, fuck a right, is you riding? Know you love to see it, dudes rocking. Ain't no politics, baby, we just talking. From the birds to the bricks, we be in the mix with that rare candy paint job on the whip. Who you with?
It was about to be I've been lagging. I'm like the rock star that starts showing up to the practices like wasted an hour late. Oh shit. You guys started already? Yeah.
And you still kill it every time. We just let you do it because it's like he shows up 25 minutes late.
It's Miles Davis biography. It's the Miles Davis biography. They're like, and Charlie Parker, like his eyes were on the floor, like literally not in his head. They were disconnected from his body.
Like the mask.
He literally had no motor function whatsoever, but still played Donna Lee perfectly. And you're like, oh man. Yeah. So
I'm super excited to have you boys on. I've been thinking about this one a lot. Yeah, this is going to be a session of horses. Yeah. For sure.
Well, I got to ask you, it's been a while since we've all talked to Brad. Brad and I did an episode. We did a Gain of Fiction not too terribly long ago, but you were working on a novel at that point. But other things have changed. You're starting your own venture. First off, it's not an end of a podcast, but the end of an era at Art of Darkness. That was an awesome era. A lot of hours of content that I still implore everybody to go check out. But what are you up to now, dude?
Yeah, so I've started a new podcast. We recorded some of it. So it's called the Method and Madness. Mm-hmm. And it's, the co-host is a guy people may know, Aaron Gwynn. He used to be the Blood Meridian guy.
Yes.
So, we recorded an episode. We got an episode in the can on Moby Dick, and fundamentally the idea is every month we're going to pick a book and in some ways kind of just talk about it and give our opinions on it. But there's a method portion, which is a little bit more, a little bit more academic, but with some horsing around and kind of talking about it, giving some information that I think writers specifically might get out of it, just like technique stuff. That's probably more of an Aaron led thing. And then the madness is I just get real schizo with it. Yes. So just like whatever, reading through Moby Dick and you come across something like, what the hell is that? That's that part of the show. Following different rabbit holes, making weird connections, and this bit on Moby Dick, we go into astrology and you know, sort of weird splinter American religions, and we bring in H.P. Lovecraft, and it kind of goes all over the place. So,
Any tarot in there a little bit?
Not yet. There probably will be. Yeah. I think we'll get there eventually. Yeah. I don't want to. I do tarot stuff, so I never know like how much to put everything into one place, or it's like, you know, do I do a tarot thing over here and kind of not cross the streams? I'm never quite sure about that, but
for sure.
But yeah, we just recorded our first episode. We're still literally, I think I put the website up yesterday, madmethodpod.com, and we'll have an episode out probably this week. It'll be out, so check that out.
Yeah, everybody, please go check that out.
Yeah.
And you know, last time we talked, you had wrapped up a novel, like technically.
Yeah,
you had just finished
that day.
Yeah, you were finishing the first like 20 minutes on the show. That's no big deal. That's no big deal at all that you were doing that. You were wrapping it up. You were like,
I wasn't even 5 minutes late either. I'll have you know.
That's true. This is not for anybody in particular, but if you are in a habit of showing up 5 minutes late to a podcast, just think about a guy who's writing a novel who still showed up on time. You know,
exactly.
Like,
I like the pain of, because I know you guys are talking about me in those first 5 minutes, and it's just such a. It's like, you gotta say, it's like the cuck chair, dude. It's like I'm sitting in the corner, like, oh, what are they gonna say about me? Oh no, you know?
we didn't say it. We didn't say it. Yeah, I feel like it's kind of narcissistic for you to think that we were just talking about you this whole time. We didn't say anything, dude.
No, but Brad, I do love that. I'm excited to listen to that, and because like JDO, I love reading your posts on writing process and strategy, because that's something I know nothing about, you know, and so it's cool seeing into those brains of some real ass writers like you guys. I think, you know, it's tricky because you're trying to figure out, you want to, you know, you guys do a show, it's like you're trying to figure out, like, all right, how do you appeal to, you're not trying to appeal to everybody, but like you don't want to do something that like, oh, that's only going to appeal to 3 people. Like there's, you know, you can do that now and then, but like overall trying to figure out like, all right, how does he make this interesting to at least, I don't know, 1 out of 100 people at least? Right. That's us when we talk about the Raiders.
Any sports. Literally anytime I bring up sports, because like I'll go in our Discord and I'll see people posting like links to Elliott Smith songs, and I'll be like, oh, we can't talk about sports ever. like our audience is so unathletic. And that's okay. That's all right. No, we can't. It's all right. It's no big deal. But David, you are done with a manuscript. I don't even know how this works, but there's a manuscript, and you send it to your peers, your colleagues at Broken River. What do they do? Like, what happens? People just go. Does anyone just go? Like, is there any possibility of someone going nah to the whole thing?
Oh yeah, Eddie could. Eddie might.
He would.
Yeah.
He would.
But no. So the typical process that people go through is that they finish a draft and then they hire an editor. And I spent, 10 years as an editor and not being edited. So I didn't want to do that because I don't know. It's a line kind of like what Brad was talking about with the podcast, right? Where it's like, you don't want it to be for everybody, but like that 1 out of 100 is a really good ratio, I think, for a book. And so you don't want to get an editor who's like, even if they have horror background or crime background, being like, well, this isn't like Stephen King, or this isn't like, Dashiell Hammett or whatever, So I like that I have the boys. There's the 4 boys there, and we're all we have similar tastes and shit. But what I sent them was a fucking mess, right? So they will find things, and they'll be like, dude, what is this? I'm like, I don't know. I needed something. So, people started getting their butt cheeks chopped off, I guess. And so that's it's kind of a unique
literal mess.
process.
That's a literal mess. That sounds like messy plot point, like in general.
It's a fun scene in my book where these like 2 ninja assassins are fighting in this alleyway with a bunch of glory holes cut out of it, with like people's asses poking through the glory holes.
All right.
And so in this like cyberpunk world, you can just walk by and fuck one of the asses if you want to. And so a fight starts happening there, and it's got a bunch of fun Jackie Chan gags where like knives go into butt cheeks and butt cheeks get cut off. And it's good.
Damn. Wow. So these ideas just pop into your head, like just randomly.
Yeah. It's just kind of things that I think about.
Oh, all right.
Like, what if?
Incredible.
Yeah, no, I get the same thing. Yeah, I know how it works. You're just like, I have to write that down and find out if anybody thinks that's funny. You know?
Yeah,
Like,
that's most of the book for like 500 pages is just gay jokes. I mean, it's basically 500 pages of cyberpunk gay jokes. So we'll see how that goes.
I love it.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I remember I had a composition notebook, and it was so performative that I bought the composition notebook too. Thinking about it in my old days, I was like, no, this is gonna have the best ideas. Is the freckled, the speckled like composition notebook, and I would just write like comedy skits. They're terrible. All funny ideas. No, like there's just no direction. There's no kind of ups and downs. It's all like this whole thing should be funny.
I think some of them were good. That was like when we were in
high school. No,
I remember a few of them were.
The ideas
funny.
are funny. Like the ideas are funny. I stand by.
Give us one.
Well, okay. I remember the one. Well,
the fish one. The fish one's my favorite one. Is
that?
Like it's like a Chopped kind of game show kind of thing where there's like 3 judges, right? I can't remember what the third one was, but one of them. Guy just the secret ingredient is fish, and it's like the secret ingredient is a fish, and like that's how it starts, and it's just a big fish, and it's like no different kind or anything, it's just fish. And so the guys, like everyone makes it, they're like real serious about making their dishes. Oh, all right, cool, oh my god, I made this, and this is just how my mom used to make it, and it starts crying, and it's like really getting into it, and then they give it to the judges, and one judge is just like, yeah, I mean, I just gotta admit, I'm like not a fish person at all. and
every dish,
every dish, like subsequently is going like, okay, just want to reiterate, like I don't hate the dish, I'm just like not a fish guy at all. Like, his plate's like picked over, like bare, like bites in the napkins and stuff, and then one guy's loves fish but is allergic and is secretly just like decomposing in front of everybody. The third guy is like serious. You know, like a serious, kind of like Best in Show. You have Fred Willard, and you have the other guy. Like, you need
the straight guy. That's important.
Exactly. I think that's what it was. If it wasn't, then that is a horribly written skit. So yeah, we're gonna get you right back to the episode, but I just wanted to let you guys know of a few other things we offer at Rare Candy Industries. We have a Substack with free and paid subscription options. Free subscribers get access to all written content. That includes Bob's Red Pill. That's the best thing going on the internet right now. Trust me. Paid subscribers get full access to our premium episode feed. And that's just every episode we don't necessarily want to share with the general public, if you know what I'm saying. Again, that's rarecandy.substack.com. We also have merch. That link's a little long for me to say right now, but go to the description, go to our merch store, and find a shirt that's right for you. We have Rare Candy shirts, Dr. Bronner soap label shirts, Rishi mushroom shirts, all types of stuff there. Check it out. There's got to be something for you. And lastly, check us out on social media. On Instagram, we're Rare Candy Pod, but on Twitter, we're at Rare Candy Pod 1. All right, enough of that. Let's get you back into the episode. It's just funny, like those ideas, you like have to write them down. You have to, because like they haunt you otherwise, or at least you got to at least like let them walk the plank, you know?
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Because sometimes I've got a bunch of stuff that's just like one sentence ideas for something, and I occasionally go back and kind of rake over and try to find them. And every once in a while something's cool, and a lot of it I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't actually work. Like you can't actually do anything with that. That's just like a sentence,
right?
Yeah. So you definitely need to like walk the plank is good.
Do you ever fall into the problem of not for plot for me, I don't do that, but where you write stuff down, but you do it so shorthand that you look back and you're like, oh, that's gone.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that means.
Too code. Yeah. It's like,
exactly.
It was like you were trying to transmit it across enemy lines. You're like,
what
happened?
That'll totally make sense to me later. And you don't look at it for a week. You're like,
there was a period of time where I tried to keep a dream journal, and it's all that. It's like it's just like grandma is mad. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm not
what else is new?
Not sure what that means. Or like the stairs are upside down and I'm late again. And I don't know. I thought it was gonna be like a cool Carl Jung kind of thing where I'd be able to like go into my dreams. But all it was just random bullshit. Because I have a friend, Chris Sagnussem is his name. He's a writer. He and I did that podcast for a while called Lost Explorers. And at the end of every episode, he'd have his dreams. And in retrospect, I'm not sure if these were real or not, but they were like, he would go on for like 15 minutes. He'd be like, wow, I was in this small desert town and these mimes came out, and it was fast. It was cool. It was like a story. So I thought I would do that, but my dreams are all retarded. So
everybody's got like a different, mine are wild. Yeah.
Yeah. My wife has like just the most like if I have a crazy dream and I like tell it to her about it, she's like, whatever, you know, like hers are
Buckle up.
she's the sensitive, like if there's a spirit in the house, she'll be the first to see it. She's the, you know, that type of person. And I'm like, some people just have like really insane dreams. Like just, I don't know what it is, but for me, I have, like, I've said it a million times, I just have like frustrating ones where I'm just constantly trying to accomplish something simple and it's not happening. And
you
like
try to do a podcast and like you press record and then it stops recording.
Yeah.
You press record. And
or no, the record button just says like don't record, and you're like, oh fuck,
Yeah. What?
I pressed the don't record button. You know, like damn.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. You said it before. Yours are like Kafka-esque.
Yeah, they are.
You're
No,
very,
he is the premier horror writer to me. Where I was like, fuck. This is exactly me. Like the whole down to the stabbing at the end, you know, like is exactly my dream.
Yeah.
Like it's just that. So I'm like, you explain those to people and they're just like, all right, yeah, now you're stressing me out, you know. And then but like, you know, the other people who have like those crazy, like, you know, mass murder dreams and stuff, like those are, I don't have those, because I would be the one where I'm like, I heard there's a mass murder downtown. Like, why can't I find downtown? You know, like I'd be like, the freeways are all over the place. Like, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to do a Jungian analysis on you, Glenn, but I feel like I can interpret this one. You know,
Let it rip.
Oh, well, I mean, it says it right on the
free?
surface. It's
for
it's
free,
like,
Brad. I don't have to
for
pay you
free.
this?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I got you. Yeah. I would like to hear.
No,
it. I would like
you're
to
just.
hear it.
I mean, you're just frustrated all the time. There's nothing deep to it, really.
Mm-hmm.
Does that feel like normal life to you? Because that's what normal life feels like to me. What you're talking about.
It's high expectations of yourself.
Yeah.
It's high expectations. It's any time that like there have been times where I like do something and I know nobody saw it, but I was like, there's somebody over there calling me a fucking loser right now, you know, like, and that's like most of my life and how I conduct myself. Yeah. And you know, that's probably where those come from, where I'm like, somebody saw that dumbass shit that I just did, and like, and then the rest of the day could be cooked. I'm better at it now, but for a long time, I'd be like, the rest of the day's cooked because I did that. You know what I just had today, that this is real life, not a dream, where it usually happens when I've been on the computer all day or working, and where I'm not really social and I'm just like get too autistic with shit, and then I go out into the public and I'm in a store. I know what you mean. You know, like I'm in a grocery store. Yeah. And I'm, you know, I got the card or whatever, and there's like this woman in front of me, and I need to get the onions, but she's hogging it. So then I go around, and then she moves back, and then it's like this awkward thing, and then I'm tripping out so much where it's like clearly I'm like frustrated with her, but then I'm like, I know I'm acting retarded too, and I'm like, dude, just chill out. And I know that I'm just schizo, and it happens 4 times in a row, and I'm like, and I'm looking around and think people are looking at me. That just happened to me like 2 hours ago. I know exactly what you mean, because I've been not working and for like a little bit of time now, and you're not in that like everyday world mode. Even though I'm still going out doing things, like I walk to the library and do all this stuff, I still feel like I'll be inside like hardcore, just like getting ready for the show, recording for 3 hours, reading, doing all this stuff, and then I'm like, I wish I had one of those like chambers, like one of those like sanitizing chambers that just blows all the autism off me, like before I go into the store. Like, exactly. Dude, this is an embarrassing one. I went in one time, toothpaste all over my mouth, dude. Like,
no,
I didn't know, and everyone was so nice. Like nobody said anything. Like, because I was like, dude, I really wish somebody said something to me, because like it was kind of embarrassing, because when I got home, I just went on and I was like, oh, because like the Risewell one that I use foams up really crazy. So it was just like right here, and like it was like 3 quadrants.
Yeah, that's like having a boogie. Like when you have one that's like actually hanging though, like not like in your nose, but just, and you're having a bad day or whatever, and you're kind of short with the cashier or whatever. So you're a dick, but the whole time you've got like a huge bug, like just hanging there. And then you feel double bad. This dude psyched me out at the grocery store the other day. I've never experienced anything like it, but he was standing in front of the garlic powder, and I really needed garlic powder. And I like kind of stood there. It's a weird dance, right? Because I hate it when I'm trying to select spices and some like little lady's like reaching her weird ugly claw around to grab whatever she needs. I'm like, just fucking wait a second. I'm thinking. So I was trying to wait. I was trying to be cool, but then they kind of started getting into, okay, this is taking a long time. He's looking at his phone. He didn't have his headphones in, nothing like that, right? But he's texting, right? And so I'm like, hey man, yeah, excuse me, just trying to get through. And he like didn't move, didn't look at me, just kept texting. And so I was kind of doing like one of these things where I was like,
how do you?
And dude, nothing made me feel like more of a bitch. But then it's like there's two options there. Like you just reach around this man who clearly you are so little of a threat to him that he can openly ignore you and keep texting while you're asking politely for something. Or you could just like freak out and stab him. There's only two polarities.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh man.
Either you're going to jail or you're going to think about that for the next 10 years.
Right. Was I being a
you know what's good about getting older is you can like make a quip and people don't think you're as much of a prick, or at least it's baked in that you're a prick, so where they're like, oh, of course this guy's gonna say something like you could just go, hey, is that text about garlic? Is it garlic related? You know, like, you're like,
no, I did the worst thing, dude. I did the total bitch mode thing. I waited until I was like 3 aisles away, and I was like, what a fucking asshole. It's like to myself when I was safely out of, because he would have fucked me up for sure, but like I was like out of harm's way, and then I let that one out, but it was like audible. I was like, he might have heard it from 3 aisles over. I was like picking up the pace with my cart. I was getting away.
I struggle at the grocery store because I think my natural speed setting is like 1.25 of everybody else. And so I go to the grocery store and I'm just like, I'll run into that. I'll run into somebody and I want to wait. Like they're looking in the meat aisle and I want to give them a minute to pick the right one. That's what I want to do when I get over there. But I just feel like I'm moving much faster than everybody, and everybody's in my fucking way. It drives me crazy. I struggle with it, to be honest.
Dude, one time I went to, I lived right near Natural Grocers, which is a great store. Love that store.
That's my favorite, dude. I got the points on that one.
We don't have them here. We don't have them here. I have to go to Nevada.
They don't have them in California.
Bezos locked it down.
He did.
Locked down for Whole Foods.
But the cashier was like, he was this like nice, smiley, like younger, like mid Zoomer dude, curly, like the Zoomer perm or whatever, and he, you know, like moderately hippie as you have to be to work at a natural grocer, you know. So I'm like, and I get up there, and I don't know I don't think I was acting weird or anything, but he's just like, hey man, what did he say? He's like, you got somewhere to be? And I'm like, no. And he's like,
no, here. I have to be here.
Yeah,
I'm good. I got nothing. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I don't think so. He's like, are you in a rush? And he's like, huh? I guess some people just naturally act a little more wired or faster. And I'm like looking around, I'm like, dude, you just fucking dropped the hammer on me, you alpha. And I'm like, and what's weird is I wasn't even, because sometimes I am like that, like my first anecdote in the store where I'm like, tweaking. This time I actually felt really chill, so it actually hurt harder.
Ouch!
Because I was like, "This is me at my best," you know. I'm just so it was.
I just feel like,
I still remember that one, dude.
I know exactly what you mean because I've told this story on the show many years ago. It feels like, but there was like I try to make jokes with like the Zoomer when I see like a Zoomer that's like you can tell like they really want like the all encapsulating headphones on and they're like pissed that they don't have it. And he's like, they're working at Target, and one time I bought literally just a bottle of Drano, like one time. And I was looking at him and I'm like, you got to at least acknowledge that it's kind of weird for a guy to just buy Drano at the store. Like, like there's so many possibilities that your mind.
Like you didn't get like a stick of gum or anything like that.
No. And when he asked me if I wanted a bag, and I said, well, that one's not making it home. You know, I said,
that's a rad joke. Yeah, it's good.
Nothing.
God,
how can you? Oh man,
dude, it wasn't even like a head shake. Like, oh, that's fucked up, dude. It wasn't even that. It was just like, all right, and then just like it was done. And it was so. I was like, dude, I was treating it like a can. I'm like explaining the art of the joke to the guy. No, I'm not even doing that. But I just like I'm one of those guys. Like when I see like a really tense situation, I try to break the ice. But with Zoomers, you can't, dude. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's happening.
Well, Glenn, I was texting you over this. I had a couple of Zoomer interactions recently, and it's weird. I'm not a big like generational hater guy. I've never been that like boomers. You are okay.
I am. Yeah.
Let's dial it up then. But but I swear to God, they're so like awkward in like almost like a rude way, but they don't know they're doing it, and it's like you can't be mad at them. You're just like, what happened to you guys? You know, it's crazy, dude.
They've been ignored their whole lives, dude. That's the thing is that
you think it's like ignored.
They haven't felt human warmth. It's like the monkey that was raised by the robot mom
Is it the Gen X thing? Is that a Gen
You know
X
what I
thing?
mean?
Or like, yeah, for
Well,
sure.
because Gen X are their parents, and I could see. So I had this theory because Gen X, at least the people I know, like my older cousins, right, that are a little bit older than me, they kind of hate etiquette, and I don't. I hate a lot of weird social etiquette. But like they hate the idea that like a lot of times like my cousins are like, why do we say thank you? They do like this little Jerry Seinfeld quip. Why do you say thank you? Or
What's the deal with thank you?
Yeah, exactly. Or they think it's like
I
really
gave you
funny.
money.
It's like taking a shit. Where am I taking it? Like they think that joke's like really like they love like they think they're the first person to like make a joke ever. And yeah, it's kind of like I'm making a Drano joke. I get it, but it's just
No, the Drano joke was fire.
Yeah,
that was a good one.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks,
I
dude.
know, but yeah. He like they'll say that, and I'm like, oh, you guys are raising the Zoomers. That makes sense. Like, so they're kind of like doing like these like silent dinners where everyone like walks away at different times, and like because you're thought that like etiquette was slavery, whereas like my mom, who's very liberal, like right now is like really really liberal, like is about as liberal as they come, like MSNBC all day and stuff. But as a kid, she was like the fucking guy from Whiplash on me about like, etiquette. Like
Me too,
look
dude.
in the eye and say thank you. You're not leaving until you say thank you. Like the guy was being punished. The guy had to sit there and stare at a kid to be said thank you to.
Yeah,
like,
I
glad for him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was in the military,
good
dude.
parenting.
Like,
Yeah,
I had military dad, military grandpa. I'm like the first generation to not do military. In retrospect, I feel like I probably should have done that. But
you would be dead by now, by the way.
Oh, I would have died for sure, dude.
Like,
my dad was such a fucking. My dad tells me these war stories, but like my dad's awful, right? Just like a really bad dude, and he would tell these stories. I remember like one of my formative memories as a child was going to like a hang where my mom was hanging out with 3 of her friends, and they like their husbands were both in the army, and they knew my dad, but like when my dad showed up, it would be like this fucking guy here. Man. And my dad showed up to this gathering wearing like a bolo tie. And I specifically remember one of the guys who I thought was really cool. And he would always like, he had his awesome bookshelf and he would show me like Starship Troopers and shit like that. He was like, hey Dave, where'd you get that gay tie? I'll never forget that. Where'd you get that gay tie? But where was I going with that story? Oh yeah. So my dad would tell me, my dad opened up to me once about like his experiences in Bosnia and Iraq and Afghanistan. And like all of his stories are about like his platoons or whatever you call them, like basically putting him out front and center as like the guinea pig for shit.
Damn.
And he would,
did he ever put 2 and 2 together? Like
why
they might have done that? Did he make that connection?
He's not that self-aware. No, I think might be
I was the best, obviously.
Right. He was the top guy.
The old tip of the spear.
I won the contest every time.
Every time I got to go out, he'd be like, yeah, there'd just be this valley. And like, they knew that they were in the hills and they would be like, all right, Dave, you're on this one.
Oh my God.
Literally the canary in the coal mine. Like, the penguin for the sharks. Like, you're that. You're
trial penguin.
The trial penguin. Yeah.
Oh, but right. So, but like Glenn, what you were saying about, your mom kind of hammering this etiquette into you. Right. Like one thing that I've noticed having a kid is that it's really tough. And if you want to do something like my wife and I, before we hopped on here, like we were catching a TV show. It's called Sweet Home. It's really good. But my kid is just like standing there and he's like, I want to watch Ghostbusters. I want to watch Ghostbusters. I want to watch Ghostbusters, like over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So like giving him Ghostbusters at that moment would have like gotten him out of our hair and we could have watched our show. But instead we just like turned the whole thing off and read books instead. Like my kid is the only one. He'll be like in a group of other kids. They'll all have iPads and shit. And he's got books. Right.
That's so sick.
And so I think, and I am bragging, fuck it. Like that's a point of pride. Right. But like,
that's great.
It's smart.
But I'm just saying that like the reason why the Zoomers are that way is because their parents gave them screens because they wanted to do shit. And it is what it is. Like you fucked up as a parent, and a lot of people.
Sorry, dude. It's crazy. It's
a huge. I mean, it's the majority then, right? I mean,
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Because it's different from because I was on like dial-up Windows 95 computer from when I was like 5 years old, but that's different.
Right.
You're actually doing it. It's like an activity.
Yeah.
But the Zoomers,
face, dude. Like right.
They
here,
don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy.
when you did that, you were actually learning how computers work. The Zoomers don't know how computers work.
Thank you.
To
So
them,
that's the
it's a
thing.
mysterious box where stuff
Boomers
comes out of it.
Yeah, boomers and zoomers. That's funny. I was reading because I've been getting like more and more into coding and shit recently, and
Coding,
so
not
yeah.
coding.
Oh, I heard codeine, bro.
That explains being late to everything.
Powder coating. Yeah. No, but and it's funny. Like, yeah, there's like programmers that'll pull up like a terminal window in front of a Zoomer, and the Zoomer will be like, "Oh, are you hacking the computer right now?" You know, and it's like I'm just doing. Yeah, it's like literally the instructions to do. Yeah, and it's man, it's funny, dude. Yeah, I don't know.
So you could tell. So wait, so you could tell the computer what to do?
Yeah, exactly.
How do you? Yeah, it's wild. It's crazy. I work with a fair amount of Zoomers, but it's in the engineering world, so they're all engineers, right? But they're 24 or whatever. And 2 different times I had to explain the concept of copy and paste to somebody.
Whoa.
And I was like, how did you get into this building? Like, how did this happen? You have a college degree in like a STEM thing, right? Not in some like underwater basket weaving or gender studies, like something where you actually were supposed to learn technical stuff and you literally don't understand how copy and paste works. It's bizarre.
That is. I've noticed that too, where you're just like, you spend all day on like objectively high tech stuff, like a phone that does all the stuff that our phones do is like pretty. It's an achievement. We can say whether it's a good achievement or a bad achievement, but it's an achievement. But like you said, like going on the computer, it's like it was in a separate room. Like you had to go to the separate room. You were missing whatever else was happening. So it was like, okay, do I want to play Roller Coaster Tycoon? Right. Or go. I had a feeling I clocked you as a tycoon guy, but when you that's an early autism red flag. For sure. I never got into it. That's what I mean. Like I'd go, where's this headed to?
Yeah.
Like,
Dude, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do The Sims. It was all like Doom,
I know.
Quake.
Yeah.
I did like Mist and Riven.
Mist. Mist is a crazy one. Yeah.
Mist always seemed fun, but I felt I wasn't qualified for it. But it looked fun.
Yeah.
Like it was intimidating. It felt like you had to know. Like it felt like it was like RPGs. It was like RPGs where I was like, I had friends who played Xenogears, but I was like, I don't think I can do that. You
just go on game FAQs, dude. You go on game FAQs, find out what to do. Somebody's got game FAQs was so cool because they would do the ASCII of like whatever the character was. That's a forgotten art. I haven't seen that in a while.
Yeah.
Because now what do you do, right? You watch like what was the guy that got canceled? What was his name? Dr.
Like Dr. Mudd or Dr.
The guy
Dr.
got
Danger.
canceled. No, there was a Twitch guy that got canceled.
Yeah, he's got like a mullet and a mustache.
Yeah. Like you watch those guys that like it's like that's how you learn how to play a video game, or is it even about learning how to play the video game?
Yeah,
that's not like such a boomer right now, but like, is it about that? Like, I'm like, or is it about just like watching him have fun?
Yeah,
it is. That's it.
You're outsourcing.
It's a fun simulator.
You're outsourcing and already out. It's like 3 times removed from reality. You're watching someone else play a simulated game, dude. It's crazy.
Yeah, have you guys seen the apps? Because I just got an ad for this, where it's this woman and she said, "I just read 4 books today," and then it's like they get the quick reader app, and it's something that like I think AI like reads the book and then gives you a like 3-page summary of what happens in the book.
Yeah,
it's like here are the important points.
Oh my god!
And then it like I bet you one of those 3 pages is like it's racist.
Yeah,
like you know, like I'm gonna start reading some Celine, and like if you look up anything on Celine, which it's probably true, but like I mean the guy
is very racist. Yeah,
dude,
the Nazis showed up in France and met him and were like, whoa, not that far. But
no,
like, talented guy.
They told him like he was like, I really wish like I was like he was like I was real frustrated that they didn't exterminate like the French Jews. Like he said it like that. Like I was kind of bummed that like Olive Garden's breadsticks weren't good tonight. Like it was in that like tone. Like it was like I was really bummed that this didn't happen. And like I love the idea of someone like telling him that too. Like someone's like, hey, we're not doing that. And he's like,
What's it all for then, man?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's funny because like I'm like, dude, his books are obviously good. Like everybody's gonna,
fantastic!
yeah. We're getting ready to do something, me and Max Thrax, about that, like because it's. But I just laugh because his Wikipedia page is just anti-Semitism. It's just all it is. Like, and I'm like, okay, can there be something about the book, like something? Because it's like, it's not 468 pages of just that. Maybe it is.
Right.
I'll read it.
No, I really do think that that's a shame, and I keep going back and forth as to like whether that's over or not. Sometimes it feels like it's over, but then a kind of vestigial tail will rear itself up, and I'll be like,
You're
maybe
talking
it's
like
not
the,
over.
you're talking like the cancel thing.
Yeah,
like not even canceling, like with the idea of getting somebody to disappear, but the inability to look at something like it's kind of like we can talk about this,
like being obtuse about it.
Yeah,
you know,
like talking about like the Civil War. It's like, okay, we all know those guys like are pretty racist, no matter which side they're on. Or like Greeks, it's like, yeah, they all fuck little kids, you know. But let's talk about the cool shit that they did when they weren't doing that.
Right.
I'm hoping art can kind of get to that point too. Not necessarily for child fuckers, but like just for racist people like me.
I mean, even then, it's just like it happened. So what? I mean, like you know, like it's
that was like a big progressive leftist thing where you bring up like John Lennon and did you know he beat his wife? It's like you know, there's a very Reddit. It's weird because it's you definitely don't want to not acknowledge that, but they're like the did you know type of guy where they just bring that up all the time for anything, as if that's all they contribute to the discourse on any given subject. You know, it's just like the guy that knows all the bad shit about everything.
Yeah, because like a factoid, the factoid guy.
Factoid.
But they're all that. But they're all that. It's all like it's all kind of pejorative. It's like you're listening to like a beautiful musical composition and you're thinking about like domestic violence. And it's like really what you hate is how lost you get in the art and that you need to remind somebody so they don't get lost in it all the time. And it's like you kind of defang the whole thing. It's like this kind of like, you know, limiter that you put on it where you can't fall in love with it again, you know what I mean? Or you can't, it's like that's the problem with like knowing everything, you know, and just knowing factoid upon factoid, you know, like it's fine, I guess. Yeah.
There's a certain amount of resentment, I think, too, because it's like, well, why does John Lennon sort of get to be famous? He's just a wife beater. Why does he get, you know what I mean? Why does he get to have this thing? It's like, well, he's that, but he's also, you know, he was also John Lennon. So
dude, I have not. That's such a good point, man. I've never thought about it that way, but it's so obvious as soon as you said it. It is all about jealousy, about attention.
I think
it has nothing to do with art, and it's everything about like with attention. Like what they're saying is not that you can't enjoy art from some, it's that you can't like it, you can't talk about it, you can't boost it because you are like in an attention economy where attention is everything. You giving attention to something that is bad is fucking damn near criminal.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like, how are you prioritizing? Plus, the other thing is you can do that. Like when I hear stuff like that, I think of how you can make fun of anything anybody says just by repeating it in a whiny voice.
Oh, it's the most devastating comeback ever.
It literally doesn't matter what they say.
Just do it in retard voice. Like, it doesn't matter what they say, really?
Right, exactly.
You feel it.
And like, sometimes I feel like some of that is from the same part. Like, did you know he's a wife beater?
Yeah.
Like, I know he was, but...
I like John Lennon. I like John Lennon.
Right.
That's more devastating though than talking about the wife beating thing though, because then you feel stupid when they do that.
Well, there's no comeback. There's no comeback.
Right.
No comeback.
You know, I usually just go, yeah, I knew that. I usually just say that.
I know you are, but what am I?
Yeah. Or they go, did you know Roman Polanski, you know, raped a child? I go, yeah, I did.
Yeah,
and then the conversation's over, and then I still enjoy the movies. And I'm like, are you mad that I do this, or did you want there to be a supplemental conversation to this?
Right,
because I feel like that's what they want, is the discourse to not be about whether Chinatown's a good movie. It's whether Roman Polanski deserves to be talked about in a good light, which I don't care. You know,
and then you actually don't have to. You can totally sidestep what might be like the more challenging but maybe rewarding conversation of like, well, okay, like why is Roman Polanski so good? What's up with these movies? Like, you know what I mean? You can avoid all of that entirely. You don't have to understand any of it or know any of it.
Yeah,
can
we shouldn't seek out people with bad traits to make art and pump that up. But also, it begs the question: with this completely pre-checked, sanitized of every new Netflix movie or whatever, and it's all dog shit, and it begs the question: what are we doing here? It's kind of like,
no, you got to be a little bit of a pervert. You got to be a little bit of a pervert. But I think everybody has a line too. Yeah, everybody has a line too, and I think it would be dishonest to say that we don't all have lines. Like, I'm not a huge Lost Prophets fan. That was a new metal band that kind of missed me. But like, when you find out that dude was getting groupies to give him their like 6, 7, 8-year-old daughters to fuck. Jesus. I mean, like, even if that was like my favorite band, like System of a Down, that would tarnish it a bit. So really, we also kind of have to acknowledge that we're a little okay with wife beating. Dude, we're a little okay with it.
It's to a metal band, dude. Can you imagine
to that? Lost Prophets?
But just in general, like, where people like they ask, like, the mom's just sitting there like dejected, like, I can't believe what I just did, and they're like, a metal band? Like, it was just like these guys, like it wasn't even like a governmental organization, or like, this guy's just like, we eat babies and like do stuff, and they're like, would you like mine? Like, I'm sorry, I'm not in control of my actions, right? Like, would you? It's kind of like the R. Kelly thing. It's like there's a thing with R. Kelly. Like, obviously, we understand how he came up on these kids. Like, they were like crackhead moms that like were just like, I'll literally sell my kid for like probably a dollar amount that would really demoralize you if you heard it. But like some of these other ones where they're just like, I had like no idea, like, oh my god, like this band, because that's like where my mind goes. It's not that you absolve the person of doing it, but it's just like when you have a general like a Catholic sense of evil, where I'm like, that guy's gonna exist no matter what. There's no way of like avoiding that thing in the world other than like you protecting your kid, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the way you avoid it. There is like an accountability. It's always like the parents, it's always like, to me, my first thing is always like, why are you letting your kids like do this? This is so.
It's the Michael Jackson thing, right? Like, go for a sleepover at a carnival with a weird freaky looking guy. Like,
right.
I know. Even if nothing happened, I'd be like, it's like, you still let your kids sleep over at like a weird guy's house unattended.
It's kind of like law of attraction. Like, all parties involved participated in some bird's eye picture kind of way, not exonerating the bad behavior of one party or whatever, but it's kind of, they all met on some weird karmic path where you're letting your kid sleep over at Michael Jackson's house, It's just so I don't know. It's interesting.
And it's like, what is the dad just like a massive fan? Like, he's just like, he's like, I'm just mad I wasn't invited. Like, what? like, Mike, can I like, I got a sleeping bag, dude. Like, what's up?
Oh, just the idea, like, that's a skit right there. The dad that goes to the Neverland Ranch, and
he's got a sleeping bag.
He's killing Michael's buzz.
He's like, look, I'm not trying to. I got a Coleman tent out here. I'll chill out here. It's totally fine.
And not to make it too much of the current thing, discourse, but with this whole UK rape shit going on, it's like, it's like, that's what I was gonna say, is that there are the people that'll freak out about John Lennon or Michael Jackson are worried about seeming racist or whatever in the UK. It's like, everyone has some dumb little calculus in their head that they do for everything, like the am I a good person kind of thing, and it's tiring, for sure.
The Nextdoor app has been disastrous for the human race, because you constantly have to, like, they're doing Nextdoor app, but for like the World Series of Nextdoor app. That's what's happening right now. Like, not to make light of it, it's fucking disgusting, but like, it's an obvious thing right now. It's like going outside when it's 101 degrees and someone saying like, is it hot right now? And they go, I don't want to be insensitive, but I think it's cold.
Compared to what? Compared to what? Hot compared to what?
Well, that's what I've been seeing. Why is it hot? Why is it hot? Climate change.
Why is it this way? No, I've seen a lot of this shit. Go ahead.
I'm gonna tell my I've probably told the story at least 5 times on this podcast, but I'll tell it to you, bros, in case you haven't heard it. My wife and I, we used to, when we lived in Portland proper, we used to scan the Nextdoor app on her phone as like a humor thing. And the biggest sin you can do in Portland is walk your dog off a leash in a park.
Oh,
and
that was huge.
there
I
will
remember
be
that. Yeah.
there will be like 80, and I'm not like a fan of that. You know, I think you probably shouldn't, especially if you have a shithead dog. You know that
they always do too. By the way,
yeah,
it's never the ones that should be off the leash. It's always like
yeah, but it'll be like an 80 comment thread being like, this instant jail time for this person, and then right below that there will be like, hey, I'm a mom of a 15-year-old daughter and she has to take the bus to school, and there's this drug addict and he's like masturbating in front of my daughter at 7 a.m. And then everyone beneath will be like, oh, that's Gary, he's actually a cool guy, he's really struggling right now. What the fuck, dude?
That's Jimmy Savile.
Right.
He's hella cool. Yeah.
It's insane.
That's
it's like
singer of the Lost Prophets.
Because you would just think that rape gangs would be a slam dunk for everybody to get behind as like a bad
right
thing, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
No, I mean,
like,
I didn't understand the scope of it until fairly recently, honestly. But I've read some things in the last few days where it's like, okay, if even this one story is true, somebody should be killed over this. Even if this one story is true. Yeah,
that's a toast ass country, dude.
Oh
sorry,
my God,
we gotta save Yerk and Nanny State.
We will. We're gonna talk to Yerk soon, so I have to get his opinion on that, because it's like, okay, conversely, anytime that's happening, that type of thing is happening in this country, there's always this other draconian thing happening where you're like imprisoning people for social media posts,
dude.
You know. Meanwhile, these things like, which is really like, I think why everybody's actually pointing it out. There's millions of reasons you could be mad, rightfully so, about whatever these gangs are in the UK, but then you have like, it's like, yeah, but like, dude, if I like say like an F slur on like UK, you know, whatever their things they're saying, you could go to jail technically. Like, always people go, yeah, but they're not doing that. It's like, yeah, but even if there's a possibility, that's a bad thing. You know, we
if it was the Wild West and it was like, hey man, it's just chaos here. Everybody's doing whatever the hell happens. Of course, some bad shit's gonna happen. But you literally need a permit to own a television in that country.
I know.
How can they not? Like,
dude, they'll climb in through your window and inspect your TV, dude. If you have a
dude,
it's the chimney sweep from Mary Poppins.
Got Italian nav,
I'll say John Lennon. He moved to New York. He's like, fuck this shit, dude. I'm not.
That's right. That's right.
But
I mean, it didn't really work out for him in that case. But
you live by the sword, die by the sword. But
Mark Evan was going to find him anywhere, though. Let's be real.
True.
Well,
like he was traveling literally like around the world, like thinking about killing people.
Yeah.
So like there was that David Bowie thing.
I love that he flew from Hawaii.
That's right.
Hawaii to New York City to murder John Lennon. What was that flight like, dude? Was he just eating peanuts and shit?
It's like Walter Kern's up in the air. Walter Kern's Up in the Air novel, and he's like, "Yeah, you ever notice peanuts?" Like, you know, just stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, like at the end of the book, you find out what he's actually going to do, and you're like, "Oh, what the fuck?" I was listening to musings of a guy that's about to go kill John Lennon. Like,
you gotta wonder the flight from Hawaii, because that is a long flight. You feel like, and if he's flying by himself, you feel like he would have mentioned it to the person he was sitting next to. I mean, like I feel like that's one of those things that slip out of your lips, you know.
Yeah,
imagine sitting next to some guys like, "Yeah, I'm going to kill John Lennon." You're like,
you start like you say something about John Lennon, and like somebody's just like, "Oh, I don't know what that is," and then you start going, "Imagine all the people." You start going like that, and the guy's like, "What do you want to tell me, dude?" Nothing. I'm heading to the Big Apple, baby. Oh man, just like but no, you're like the British stuff. It's like I didn't know that about the TV. That's crazy.
It's draconian.
What do you get? A fine? Is that like
so you're supposed to pay? You're supposed to pay the BBC to use their network,
right?
And it's like Obamacare or something. You have to pay for it, otherwise you get penalized. And so some people they do like a cable guy Jim Carrey thing where they get the free hookup or whatever, you know, and then that's grounds for being jailed for 2 years. Well, not really, but you know, but it's crazy, dude. It's fucking
and also now, like if you like a J.K. Rowling tweet, they put you on a list or something.
Sure.
So I spent years and years watching libs make fun of people like us because we used this ephemeral term freedom And they're like, what even is freedom? Like, you don't even know, like, you can't even tell me what that is. I'm like, I can tell you what it's not.
I know exactly what it is.
Point right over there. Yeah.
When you see it, you know.
Yeah.
When you see it, you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's what we live in. We're like the fish in water, right? You know, like it's hard to realize how much freedom we actually have. And these fucking people who say this shit too also have that much freedom, and they just don't know.
Well, that's the thing, the big red pill for me recently, which was that guy that like he's like a libertarian poster, Jeremy Kaufman, and he he's like, I don't know, I'm not like I think I follow him, I'm not a super fan or whatever, but he was that guy that the FBI agents came to his house and he recorded it and he's like, fuck off, you're wasting money, and he shamed them into going away, and it was like this viral thing. But so it was pretty funny. But he posted this thing like, and who knows whether this science is real. It's all like Jordan B. Peterson psychology shit, you know, or whatever. But he was posting this thing that left-wing people, left-wing authoritarians don't know that they're authoritarian. Right-wing authoritarians know that they're like, yeah, I'm authoritarian. Yeah. Left-wing people are like, oh, this is just for the greater good. And that for me, that was like a click in my mind, especially with COVID and everything. I was like, holy shit, you know, and
they still don't know. They still don't know. They don't understand what they did, which is why they retcon history. They don't know.
They have no clue. I just experienced
that.
There were no lockdowns.
Right. It's like when you hear when you hear people who suffer child abuse, when they go to talk to their parents about it, and their parents go like, that never fucking happened. Like, what are you talking about? Because their parents were drunk, or not even drunk, but they've compartmentalized that. That's somewhere deep down. That would take a lot of ayahuasca to make that shit come out. So the kid goes like, remember when you used to like burn me with curling iron if I interrupted you while you were talking on the phone to whatever dude? And they're like, nah, it's not real. That's where they're at with COVID right now. Didn't happen. It's not real.
That's a good point.
I think you're, speaking of keeping things in the pits of your mind, Psi, you wanted to talk about some telepathy, right? I mean, because
dude, I just wanted to okay, so JDO got me up on the telepathy tapes. I've yet to finish them.
It's a banger though, right?
Yeah, and I was like, hey mom, to my mom, I was like, you got to check this out. And she was like, oh, okay, yeah, when I got time. And then she texted me the next day. She's like, I binged it all. Holy shit. I'm telling everyone about it. And I was like, I knew you'd like it. And then I was sending her, it actually kind of hurt my feelings. I was sending her some of our remote viewing hits. And I was like, yeah, look, we got all this stuff. And she's like, yeah, whatever.
Whatever.
That's not as interesting. Yeah, that's not nearly as interesting, actually. That's the thing. Yeah.
But no, I was kidding. It was all up. But then I got to thinking, and I'm self-aware enough to, because we do remote view in the NFL, trying to predict these games and all this like weird, little side projects that we have. And it's so funny because I for years, for my whole life, I'm like, we got to get the mercury out of these fucking vaccines. The government is poisoning us. This is such a disgrace that we are literally poisoning these kids. And then the second I hear the telepathy tapes, I'm like, maybe we could keep just a little bit in there, and like maybe we get a little team of autistic remote viewers, and
X-Men, just a little X-Men.
Right.
I was like instantly in my mind, I was laughing so hard at myself. I'm like, maybe this could be good a little bit. I don't know.
That's true. But like, dude, that podcast, man. At this point, I tweeted this, dude. But like, if you like denying that telepathy is real is some flat Earth shit at this point. Like, you are straight up denying reality if you think that telepathy is not real. I was listening to Joseph Farrell. He did a podcast recently, The GOAT. And he was saying some things that blew my mind that I thought Psi would like. Psi, do you know what the Great Sloan Wall is?
No.
So Farrell's whole thing is plasma, right?
Okay.
Like that's his Giza Death Star hypothesis is that it was either used as like that the pyramids were a kind of prosthetic to direct plasma energy, either as a weapon or maybe as like a kind of love bomb energy, because there's a lot of negativity in the Middle East, and the pyramids were there to kind of channel that.
Not.
There's a little bit there, but he was talking about the recent like drones and like the balls of energy that people were capturing, which I will not have that fucking psyoped away by people saying it was like a lens flare or some weird. No, it was balls of floating energy that were knocking drones out of the sky. Like that happened. That was real.
That's
And
what the
so-
New Jersey thing, or is what?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
what-
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I didn't know.
There were some videos of like where you would see a drone floating there and you'd see the ball of energy and the ball would get close to the drone and the drone would boop, like fall out of the sky. So his whole thing is that the extraterrestrials are plasma beings, and he uses the Great Sloan Wall as an example. So the Great Sloan Wall is like 600 septillion miles away, but it's 100,000 light years long. It's this long thing of plasma. And what he says is that what's interesting about plasma and how it relates to consciousness is that our brains have membranes and tubes, right? Like what makes us human beings is that we have membranes in our head, and but there's also a bunch of like little tubules, right? Like
quantum microtubules.
Quantum tubules. Plasma has the same shit, right?
Wow.
And so his hypothesis is that the Great Sloan Wall is a sentient being that exists however septillion miles away, that's this big. And he says the reason why it fucks up Einstein's theories about relativity is because, nothing can go faster than the speed of light. If you have one organism that's 100,000 light years big, it's communicating with different parts of its body instantaneously and instantly breaking that rule.
Yes,
right.
And I love that because you just triggered 10 things I want to talk about. I need to figure that out because first of all, 100%. The one thing that I'm really interested in remote viewing about is the connection to sidereal time, which is 23 hours and 56 minutes a day.
Yep.
So it goes backwards 4 minutes a day.
Oh,
and all it is like at 1330 local sidereal time, and it depends on where you are on the globe. Dude, that's the other part. So at 1330 LST, the galactic center is on the horizon, and when the galactic center is on the horizon, all psi phenomena and remote viewing capabilities shoot up like 4x. So when you're remote viewing, you might as well just load all your remote viewing sessions into that window, and then conversely,
it's like ovulation for your fucking mind.
100%.
It's your telepathy cycle.
Yeah. And then when it's overhead, it's like when you're on your period, where you're menstruating, where your shit actually goes dog shit. It can actually go negative efficacy to where usually where you not only are you not better than chance, you might be slightly worse than chance. So, and then the other thing we do, the freakiest thing that we found out with our like remote viewing sports and stuff is you can, if you're a judge, you can put out target numbers, have people view a bunch of targets, for games, but not look at them, and then pick your photos that you're going to use for targets, and then judge them, and it still fucking works. So the remote viewers are not only remote viewing through space, but forward in time as well, where they're viewing pictures that haven't even been chosen yet, and it almost works better that way. So speed of light is for squares. It's fucking
speed of light's fake.
I was just listening to the interview with Joe McGonigal, and he was talking about he was in Project Stargate or whatever, and he was talking about sometimes when they would, they'd have people bring him a target, but sometimes, they would have left it behind or whatever. And he said, you can just write in there the target that I left on my desk back at my office, and that'll also work. They're like, what?
Yeah, 100%. All it takes is the intent. It's literally just the laziest of intent, and it gets you there. It's great.
Yeah. I've been experimenting. So I got Joe Dispenza's book, Becoming Supernatural, which is all about pulling futures forward. Right, like
I'm taking notes. Joe Dispenza.
If you go onto YouTube and look up Joe Dispenza, he's got some good. Like he goes on all the, like Alex Hormozy type podcasts to tell the bros how to get richer, and I fuck with that so hardcore.
That's such a good middle of a Venn diagram. Is rise and grind, and then telepathy is so sick.
Yeah.
No, and Dispenza's cool because he's He's like an Italian New York City mobster guy. He's not mobster, but he's got that affect to him, right?
It sounds like he has a show called like Practical Jokers or something.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like a real person, right?
Yeah.
Like a
If it
person
was
I meant to listen to. Yeah,
Joey Diaz is becoming supernatural.
Yeah,
right.
All right, let me tell you, Joey.
You just eat 23 grams of mushrooms, 23, some cocaine. You go down to Mexico, and
You pull the future towards you. But no, he like it was really weird, man, because I started doing it. I experienced, like, as you guys may or may not know, I forget which podcast I talk about this shit on, but like I've seen like a ton of ghosts, and I've been down the DMT rabbit hole, and I hear voices like all the time, right? Which I think is something going on kind of like quantumly. But I was like, okay, so I have like this soup of weird shit that's going on. I'll bet you if I direct it, weird shit will start happening almost immediately. And the funny thing about synchronicity is that it's never like very cool. It's just, it's kind of stupid, but I had a good one and I wanted to share it with you. Please. So I got into the sales car the other day, and I had to drive way out into the middle of fucking nowhere in Oklahoma. And whenever I plug the aux in, sometimes my iPod or my iPhone rather will just start playing.
Yes.
It doesn't happen every time though, right? Like sometimes it does. Sometimes it'll pick up a podcast that I was listening to or a YouTube video. And then sometimes it's just like, I'll bet you he wants to just start the shuffle alphabetically, right? Yeah. That day it did. And so the very first song, and I really hate this fucking song now because it scared me so many times, is Adidas by Korn, because it starts with an A. Right.
A period.
So, yeah. And so I do my estimate. I'm driving back. I got to piss like so fucking bad. Right. And so I stop at the Kickapoo Casino, right, in the middle of nowhere in Oklahoma. And they have a little gas station there. And I walk in, and there's this like older, I say older, but I'm old now. Right. She's maybe like 10 years older than me, but she's got those like big blind lady glasses on, like this Native American chick with like bleach blonde hair, and she's like kind of going like this, like when I walk in, and I'm like, whoa, cool, like having a good time. And she's like, I wish I had my headphones with me. I really want to listen to Adidas by Korn right now.
Jesus.
And I was like, I was like, okay, yeah, we're locked in.
They're like, we just got the first Korn album on the reservation. Right? So sick. Yeah. I can't wait for new metal to take over. Yeah.
This is good. Yeah.
That's so
for Native Americans, it's like, oh, Korn?
Yeah. Frankie Beverly and Maze and Korn are the two things.
Yeah, with Maze with the Z turned around.
Yeah. It's just those two things are on the.
Dude,
but it's always
sick.
like it's always little fucking shit like that. But it's been pretty immediate. And then there have been other ones like license plates are really big.
Yes.
Just listening to people saying things around me, like so with the Adidas story, that's funny, right? But it's kind of like the telephone telepathy thing, where with any supernatural occurrence, anything that is of significantly low probability only has to happen one time for it to be weird, right? And something like the Korn synchronicity, what are the fucking odds?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Of that happening, like within an hour of each other.
And
like,
who names a song and says it to another person, like a specific song? Even that alone is so crazy.
Exactly. But
like
I couldn't believe. I told her too. I was like,
it's not like a hit song happening now either. Right.
It's not even their hit song. Right. Like,
it wasn't like, I love this new Sabrina Carpenter song. It's so good. And that would be nothing, but it's like, it's a woman. Which I don't even know that many women that listen to Korn anymore.
You don't know very many Indian women, Native American women, I should say.
I was gonna say the former I do, but no, I don't know a lot of Native American women. But that's true. They might just love they do love Korn. We've established that, but it's the there's but that is crazy because my big thing is like Project 2025 for me. My one thing would be the number one thing we need to hammer home is that correlation does equal causation. It does.
100%.
It does. Any other like this whole like scientific method thing is such a bureaucracy. Like I don't understand that people like people really just don't see that now. That people just think it's like a bunch of scientists that all believe one thing and then repeat a process.
So fucking
Repeat a process as like
yeah.
this, like kind of like, well, we have to repeat the process, guys, because we have to tell Neil deGrasse Tyson about it, and he's going to want to know if we did the process.
No, and what's funny is they glorify the process, but they don't even follow it. So they'll get mad at a guy. This is happening big with the COVID because it's shown now that COVID vaccines have contaminant DNA at very high levels across the board, and so a guy like a literal cancer genome scientist who's based on Twitter will replicate the findings that someone else found and be like, "Hey, yeah, it's real, it's in there." They'll be like, "Oh, you didn't publish it. You didn't." It's like he recreated the findings. That's what science. He did science, and it's like so they don't care about it. It's all just some gatekeeping bullshit. And also,
and then it's whoever gets to hold the talking stick of science. Well, I'm the scientist, so I get to
exactly the talking
explain
stick
to everybody else. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
well, and the
dumb.
people who believe in that stuff, they love not knowing themselves like that because they always tell you, well, where's your telescope? Let's see you. Let's see you do it. They love like the hierarchy. They love deferring to people that do science. They love they never want to actually know what's happening. They're always like, I'm just so glad someone does, and we've trusted them. And it's like this kind of, again, it's building this, like just look outside half the time. Half the time you just like go outside and see if that's true. Like there's people.
On Twitter, I made a couple people kind of spurred out about the New Jersey drones thing because they were saying it's all just planes and recreational drones. And I had said to one person, yeah, that sounds like the craziest conspiracy theory I've ever heard. Yeah. It's all just recreational drone. Like who? What does that even?
People are seeing this shit that they've never seen before, and they're fucking filming it separately and being very confused and frightened by it. But
and also to me, that if you say that to me, that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. If you're trying to write New Jersey drones off as just recreational drones, that is an extraordinary claim. And you're gonna have to prove that shit.
Exactly.
Yeah. Where's your burden of proof? Like, why do I have to? Always
yes. Yeah. No, that's exactly. You know what, Brad? It's what the way I feel about it is I'm not going to participate in your delusion. Where it's like you clearly are scared to think anything outside the box. Yeah. We're all 10 miles ahead of you. Yes, if we do need to accept everything, we do need some standard of proof or whatever. But that's just been hijacked by a bunch of nannies that don't want to like play ball, and
I mean, I'm gonna need some evidence like for the drone thing for instance. I'm gonna need some evidence for an explanation of what it actually is. Like I'm not just gonna believe somebody's like, well, it's this. I'm not necessarily gonna believe that, but to believe that something fucking weird is happening, I don't need I don't need all kinds
Occam's razor. That's the other one.
Can't we just admit that it's fucking weird? And these people can't do it.
Right. They can't do that. They can't even go that far. And that's like,
and it'll be some guy who's like not involved in anything where it's like, well, like, and it's almost like they're basically saying like, my reputation's on the on the line here. And it's like, what, as a person, as like a guy? You know,
nobody cares, bro.
Yeah, no one cares, dude.
Nobody cares. Psi, with another cool thing with this Becoming Supernatural book, they talk about this Mexican woman, this old Mexican woman. She was like a shaman.
Yeah.
And she would do telepathic surgeries, right?
Yeah.
And so if somebody's kidney was failing, she would like grow them a new kidney.
Yeah.
With her fucking mind.
Damn.
And like she did it for like lungs. She did it to people's hearts. And like there would be scientists there and they'd be like, oh yeah, this fucking person's going to die. She'd come in, do her la 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 type shit over them. And then they'd be like, this person has a brand new heart. We don't know how to.
She's listening to Anita's by Corn, like
It's
just like that's the
That's
so
what if though? What if though? But like
that makes Jonathan Davis. Maybe Jonathan Davis is onto something.
Yeah,
he talks about like to a less cool but still cool, and on like the Chronicles of Tao type shit that you and I fuck with.
Yeah,
like it also leads to people living hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. The idea of like growing old. Cell reject, like we already know that if you fast for more than 3 days, your cells engage in autophagy and they eat all the bad shit that's around them, and you're basically like a brand new baby after that. But there's a mental quantum component too, where you can drag a you out of the future that's 20 years younger and become that thing. And I think that's what these Taoist masters were doing whether they
100%.
knew it or not.
Okay, there's 3. Everything you bring up, it triggers like 3 new, like a Hydra head for me that I want to dive into. There's just not enough time. Fuck, I need to read that book. The organ thing, so fuck, I'm losing them all now. But no, so Kaya Kalpa, which is I think I wrote about it in my Dark Retreat piece, the Aaron Rodgers one. Actually, one of my mentors, when I worked at this hippie retreat, and there was this old 70-year-old doctor dude who, he had all sorts of celebrity clients and shit, and he was super, super tripped out and far into this stuff. And he spent 10 years in India, and he wanted to eventually do Kaya Kalpa, which is where you go underground in a cave for like 40 days or longer, and you do specific yogic practices. And your teeth fall out and your hair fall out, and you grow a brand new set, and like black hair if you have gray or white hair. And apparently one guy did it like 3 or 4 times and lived to be 200 years old. And then he's like, I'm ready to die. And then he just died.
And I think that's what would happen to most of us too. Like if we learned this secret, we'd get to about 180 and we'd be like, I'm good.
It's time to move on.
Time to move on.
But what else was there? Yeah, the organ thing. Well, it'll come back to me.
Well,
but
Psi, I know you've talked about this a lot probably on the show, and I've heard you talk about it. But like, let's say I wanted to like dip my toe into trying remote viewing. What do I got to do? What's 101? Just like push me in the right direction, I guess.
So the easiest way, there's tons of websites with practice targets where they just have a number. I don't know if you Google them, they'll pop up. There's at least 5 of them, but they'll give you a number, which is the target. And my process, it's weird. It's almost like a Taoist try, not try kind of thing. It's where you almost don't want to put effort into it, and you don't want to be too zen about it, which is weird. A lot of people try and they meditate and they do all this crazy stuff, and it almost works better if you're just doing it in between errands, which is kind of
like Kelby. That's why Kelby's the best at it.
Yeah. His ass ain't trying that hard.
Exactly.
No, he's just showing up. Kelby, by the way, Brad, I don't know if you knew this, but Kelby was the star remote viewer.
Yep.
Oh, really?
Oh, he's
good,
fantastic. Man. Yeah. He's
right on.
Yeah. Very sensory, textural and stuff. Yeah. But so my process, the way it was taught to me was you have your target number. And then on a blank piece of paper, you just write your name, the date and time, and then the target number. And then right after you write the target number, you do a quick 1 second or sub 1 second scribble right underneath, like across the paper, like just it could be anything. And that's, what do they call that? Ideogram. It's called an ideogram.
Okay.
And that kind of sets the stage, and that's kind of probably the most important part. So you target number, ideogram, bam, and then basically whatever pops up first, you write it down or you draw it. And then in the middle of my page, I do drawings, and then on the left or the right, usually on the left, I'll write down words like descriptors or senses or tastes, and then you just kind of merge with it, and it's not going to feel real, but you just keep practicing it. And I guarantee you one of your first 10 will be some crazy direct hit. Right. And it might even be your first 1 or your first 5 or 3. And
I'm going to mess around with it for sure.
It's fun. And it's kind of, it's like push-ups. It's like psychic push-ups. Other things will start to happen. You'll start to become more, I just think everyone should do it because it's so easy. And also it doesn't, Glenn and I have talked about this because there's a lot of religious and sometimes Catholic people that are very, Christian, that are like, you're messing around with the devil and stuff. And like, look, I've done I've done way less psychedelics than a lot of other people, but I've done my fair share. I've like done 5 tabs of acid at once and stuff. So I know what bad, weird shit feels like, where it's like, oh, you're like flirting with demonic stuff, kind of. Not saying psychedelics are demonic or whatever, but we've all been there. You know what I mean? Where
they're in there. They're in there.
Yeah,
I've met them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so remote viewing, I feel none of that. It's like all, I'm sure it could be used for bad, but it's like I just feel positive vibes from it, especially if you're playful with it and you're just having fun. So
Yeah, I'm not trying to rob a bank. I'm trying to just like, you know what I mean?
Why
Like,
not?
maybe I will. Maybe if I get to
rob
that point, I will.
But like, I just want to make one quick point too, where we're talking about, you know, the deniers, the haters on psychic shit. If it's not real, then why did every major government in the world believe, and probably still believes to this day, that it is? I mean, the United States and the Russians both, like when they wanted to lock their secrets up, they would do it in a room with a bunch of wind chimes, because the wind chimes would distract the remote viewer from, because like he would be going to find the thing, and then there'd be a shiny bauble over here, right? So I also like that image of like a very austere gray gunmetal fucking safe with like a bunch of G-men around it, but then it's like covered in like all these evil eyes and esoterica like surrounding it. Like that's a fucking like, sick image, you know? Yeah.
That's no, it's obviously there's something there, right? And I'm like, I've just been, because I was just thinking the other day too, like I pray all the time, but I've never been good at it. Like your mind wanders, like it happens all the time, like when I'm praying, like, and you wonder why, like you see the woman in the church like professionally praying, right? Like you'll see that you're like, because if she just does it at home, she's gonna start thinking about like the dishwasher being unloaded or something. Like it's really hard to focus your mind. So I was just thinking about this the other day, like when I wanted to get in, like, because I like to do it as soon as I lay down for bed. I like to do it and pray until I fall asleep. It's like my favorite thing to do right now. As I read, do that, and then I don't know. I've never had trouble sleeping, so I don't know how much it actually will help my sleep because I don't have trouble at the moment. But I noticed that the Our Father and the Hail Mary wipe my brain clean when I say that.
Same, bro.
It's so crazy. Is that? I just wonder if, like, not obviously, I don't doubt that there's like, you know, real religious implications to those prayers, but I wonder if, like, you know, look, Catholics, there were governments of Catholicism that were mandating these things. And I almost wonder if it was like, hey man, like you got to say that, and then it's like hitting like, you know, Control Alt Delete or something, you know, or it's like it's just this kind of like permutation that completely gets that.
Have you read The Way of the Rose?
No.
The Way of the Rose is all about the rosary. It's like written by this couple, and it's how the rosary is a pre-Catholic tradition, right? Because the rosary beads themselves they resemble like a uterus, right? So like prayers to like the Holy Mother basically got co-opted by the Catholic Church. So that's some deep ancient magic that you're doing when you pray the Hail Mary, basically.
There's I have a couple Hail Mary things. One thing, so we were talking about going down DMT rabbit hole. I've sat with ayahuasca many times at this point.
Hell yeah, let's go.
The worst, the most intense it ever got, like the scariest, most dangerous, you know, 10 trillion ton black pyramid dropped on my head. Like, I ended up towards the end of it. I had somebody I know pretty well sitting with me, and out of nowhere, kind of, because I grew up Catholic and we grew up saying the rosary. I just asked them if they could basically say the rosary for me, and it's really, to be honest, it's really not something in my wheelhouse. That's not like I didn't say the rosary earlier that day, you know, like it's not really my thing. And like as soon as they started repeating it, the repetition, I think, I immediately calmed down. Everything calmed down. Of course, I was probably going to get there anyway or whatever, but it really,
well, and what's weird is there's this faux confidence, right? And it's from people who pick up reading after a while. There's just like faux confidence where I used to be this. However, the last 5 years I've been not living like this. I don't need to do Hail Marys. I don't need to do all problems. I grew up in the church, no problem. And then you realize you're like, fuck, I can't even pray. You know, like I can't even get this right. It's the same thing. It's like, oh, I haven't read in 5 years. I'm going to pick up Gravity's Rainbow. You know, and then you put it down after 10 pages because it's Gravity's Rainbow, and you're like, why can't I read anymore? When you realize, you're like, no, these are fundamental things that you're trying to bypass right now for people who have succeeded in trying to do what you're doing at a way higher level. And, you know, instead of writing it off and writing that off as kind of just this like holy fool thing, it's like, wait, no, there's something there. Every place that tries to transcend or speak interdimensionally, they all have a process before it happens. Like you don't just walk in and start talking to like, hey, what's up? You know, whatever.
This rosary thing, it was very interesting because I got talking to another guy like the next day, and I'm feeling fine the next day, eating a little breakfast or whatever, and talking to this kind of old head there that is pretty deep and pretty wise about stuff. And he's not really a Christian either. I don't think he would have said he isn't necessarily, but I got talking to him about it, and he's like, man, you got to think how many people over the centuries have said that prayer. And you think that itself gives it a power.
Some morphogenetic field
beyond you.
It's like a collective conscious piggy bank that is just like that is there, and like you, or like a Giza Death Star like thing,
right?
You know what I mean? Like where you're just like everybody says the same exact thing, right? Like the exact same thing, and that all gets stored, and whatever you're trying to get out of that. You know, who knows? I mean, people could be saying it for different things. People could say, "Hail Mary, full of grace." Anyway, I hope my boss dies tomorrow. Like people could say that. It doesn't have to be the same thing. But I do think, like you said, there is this. I meant to say that there's like this reserve, this like a reservoir of like positivity. I think that.
I had a thought that. What if the Catholic Church was stifling Galileo and all that shit back in the day? Not because they were threatened by it, but because they could foresee Reddit in the 2000s, you know, and they were like, "Nope, we're not doing about it."
I've thought about it a lot. No, because what if he was cringe?
Yeah,
like,
Yeah,
like
what Galileo super cringe.
I know.
What if he just goes? He's like, "Well, the Roma tomatoes look great, my lady," like that. Like at the market, like
they never talk about how annoying these people may have been.
You know they were. All the Enlightenment, Rousseau, all of those guys probably so lame. Like they're not cool. I guarantee you they weren't that cool. Like maybe a couple of them. I can see Voltaire being kind of cool. But like other than that, all of those guys, Galileo, I would even say Da Vinci to a degree. Like it's just like, dude, these guys were hyper focused on one thing, and if they weren't doing that, boy, they'd unleash holy hell on everybody else.
So yeah, Da Vinci was just a twink for his first 30 years, probably too. So that's probably like adds just this genius ass twink.
It was in like 120 days of Sodom, like or something.
Well, especially if you're just an average person, you're like, I'm just trying to grow beets, man. Like I don't know, like I don't know.
You think about it. Well, Brad, you talked about this, and it was the whole reason I actually put this episode together was kind of like, gosh, we should all talk because we all kind of like view it the same way. But think about like if you meet Galileo back in the day, and you're just like, okay, but I got my farm. I talk to God every day. Food's good, you know. As long as the weather gives me what I need. Like you're trying to show me like the inner machinations of all that. Like you're trying to show I don't care. You know, like I don't care. I wake up every day and I'm thankful for it. I go outside and there's tomatoes growing. I have what I need. And then you're trying to like further complicate my life. And I parlay that to another current thing. We talked about the H-1B stuff on another episode, so that's not necessarily where I'm getting at. But, you know, you had said something which I think the best authors can do, where they take a kind of a schizo rant and put it into a couple sentences that are like edited down. They've sent it, you know, like how David would send it a manuscript. Like you take a manuscript and put it, like you guys can naturally do this. And you basically said, like, what if I don't want the hypertech world? Like the debate seems to be like, well, if you want the hypertech world, we need this, and then the other one's like, we can do it. Oh, we can do it inside we can do it inside our country with good American men. We got to the moon because of these men here, and like all of these. Like I hate that whole argument, and I'm with you. I'm like, what if I don't want that?
I don't want it, man. You guys can keep it, dude. Like honestly, my whole a lot of my life has been a tension between like. I am a pretty motivated, like self-motivated person. Right. I don't work very hard on shit that I don't care about, to be honest. But if I care about it, I'll lock in and I'll and so part of that is the tension. My sort of split personality is between that and a poet drinking wine under a tree. Like and so I'm always sort of like, there is a part of me that appeals to like, yeah, let's get fucking competitive. Let's win somehow. But you end up seeing like in that context, the dude, it's not taking.
Yeah,
I don't think Silicon Valley has made an interesting piece of tech since like 2012.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
What have they really? And the immediate caveat that comes to mind is like, but yes, I realize they're very, very smart. I'm sort of not sold I'm not entirely sold on the value of intelligence.
Hey,
Yeah.
Not to say that it's not, but
I
like
agree.
Speaking my language. Yeah.
we put it
That's why
as
I
like
protested. I protested. and Go the
Yeah, that's why the
other way, dude. Yeah.
That's
no,
why
dude,
the, no,
dumbasses are about to inherit the earth. I'm so
100%.
fucking
Yeah.
stoked for that.
Yeah.
Like,
right. And it's just because it doesn't mean that, and that isn't even to say there aren't. I'm not like I'm certainly not a person who thinks there are people who are smarter than me, for sure. It's not like everybody's sort of on the same level. There's just this sort of worship of it. And,
Yes.
you know, I mean, this is a fucking Jordan Peterson thing, but like, you'll notice that all of the bad guys in movies and in myths are either really like violent and psychopathic or hyper intelligent or both.
Yeah.
damn,
It's
that's a good
not.
point.
It's not the ultimate goal. It's something you're supposed to like use. It's supposed to be like a tool that your your greater wisdom actually takes advantage of. You put it in charge, and all of a sudden it will invent problems to solve.
Yeah.
And then pretend like you never, pretend like that saved your life somehow.
Yeah, I like that. It's like giving an iPhone to an Aboriginal person. It's like they're already psychic. They're already psychic. Like they can already communicate telepathically. Like and now we've created something.
Galileo talking to the farmer.
There should be cool. There's never a discussion about where this is all headed. There's never, and it's also it's hard, it's weird for and I, obviously I think we all want some degree of worldly success and things, and for things to flow easily to us, and whether it be financially or whatever. But it's hard for me to get fired up about, and part of this is probably, and maybe Glenn feels the same, where like we play, he played baseball, I played football in high school, and you're just so fired up about that, and then the real world is honestly kind of lame in comparison to 100%. And then you look at the tech world, and it's guys getting like fired up about an app, and it's like, this is the gayish shit. It's like, how are you
taking these like Brad's talked about this, and I've thought other people like the taking the ayahuasca trip to code like better, or do your spreadsheet better, and you're just like,
well, it's that whole thing about like being like one-shotted by ayahuasca. You will be, if that's your goal, because ayahuasca is a real entity. It's a real being that knows what you're trying to do, and coming back after being one-shotted by it was very intentional, right? It's like you were Indiana Jones, and you fucking only the penitent man shall pass, right? Like that's what fucking happened to you. No, I think that Sam Hyde said it really good. It just reminded me Brad's tweet about this when Sam Hyde said, "Oh, you want to be like China? You want to compete with China?" Whitney Webb says this all the time too. Yeah. Is that like these higher up tech people, like all the fucking crazy panopticon surveillance type shit that we're going through is because the old people, like the neocons that are in power, are like, well, if we're going to compete with China, we have to turn everybody into slaves.
Yes.
What if we don't want that? Like, what if let China have it? Right. And then if China wants to come to fucking America and like take it over, they can fucking try. I don't think they're going to do that well with that. Right. And I know that there's like anti-gravity weapons and shit now that are involved, but we got them too. So we had Bob Lazar, motherfucker. Like, we'll be all right. But like, but his point, like when, cause I listened to the whole Sam Hyde,
it was pretty good.
Dear Elon thing. It was great. And that whole point is like, but we don't, like, I don't want that. Like they can, it's like, they're going to win. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Win what? Yeah.
They're going to win this race for techno supremacy, I guess, is what they're talking about.
I mean, and what about like, and if you really, and even if you do want to be competitive, right? Let's say you do want to be competitive and maintain some of that economic dominance. I mean, who's to say that doing that is by playing their game? I mean, America like rose to whatever it is. I don't totally understand it, but there is something culturally, like there's a reason why America scores lower on the tests than China, but America invented the internet. right?
Yeah.
Like that's not. I don't know what
Yeah.
it is. I don't know what the admixture is. I don't know what the secret recipe
Does
is.
China have a
It's-
Howard
it's-
Hughes? Like China doesn't have a Howard Hughes. Like I'm not gonna do a
Right.
bit, but like if there was
Do a
Chinese
bit.
Howard,
Dude,
yeah,
I
if
felt
there
a
was
bit
Chinese
coming. I
Howard,
felt a
yeah,
bit.
if there was Chinese
It's like
Howard
Howard Hughes foot binding.
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
eating
Something.
Kleenex boxes,
Something.
smaller and smaller Kleenex boxes.
Yeah.
like we
Getting
don't
there.
we have exactly they are like extremely just like not like we have this high range. I love the high range of like American variants that
Yeah.
we have, like where I could have the dumbest conversation with a smart person, the smartest conversation with a dumb person, and all that. Like I don't know if that's the case over there. Don't wish to find out.
Yeah.
But like yeah, exactly. Like I'll take the one that's like, damn, we hit a grand slam this time. Like
Right,
that was cool.
right,
Instead of like, hey, did you know like there's a new way to find out if the Starbucks that you ordered is actually getting warm outside and you should immediately go sprint and get it.
Yeah.
Like we need to import millions of labor over here. We need to do all that stuff to make sure that this thing that didn't exist except for when a global
It's so
pandemic hit
fucking-
made by us. If that didn't, who knows where we'd be right now? And
Yeah.
China's gonna
Dude.
make that, so you better make it. You know,
Right.
It's so
like,
crazy to me, like the India thing too, because like I mean that's the cradle of civilization too.
Mhm.
So like
Yeah.
what happened there?
I think about that a lot. I definitely actually I'm actually
civilization. It is.
What
I mean in many ways, yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Like why? Like I mean, what do you mean?
Well, just it's ancient. It's just ancient.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, ancient. And they used. I think about that a lot because I'm very, which is why bums me out when people try and ascribe they call you like racist or whatever for any of this stuff because I'm fascinated with Indian history and Chinese history, and I like to read Taoist shit and take the herbs and stuff, and I want to go there someday. But yeah, it's like what happened? Like, it's
I mean,
like
they invented Hinduism, Buddhism, Vedanta. Like they
Yeah.
basically figured out the inner secrets of life before any other culture did. The whole journey to the West, right? I mean, like the first novel, probably the most like almost more famous than like the Bible is to us. The journey to the West is to Chinese people. It's the whole story of a Chinese monk sneaking out of China to go to India to go find those texts, right?
Damn.
Yeah.
And I think for Vedanta alone, I mean, India, in terms of like going inward, and then like, now you have like this whole H-1B thing, and India doesn't seem that great. I saw this really funny video, random thought. It was a German dude in Pakistan, right? He was talking to the Pakistanis there. And they were like, "Where are you from, my friends?" And he goes, "I'm from Germany." They're like, "Oh, Hitler! We love Hitler!"
What?
And he's
For
like,
real?
He's like, "No, in Germany we don't love Hitler very
We
much."
did for
And
like
then-
a little bit of time,
and-
but it's not.
And then the Pakistanis
Mostly
are like,
not. Yeah.
the Pakistani guy goes, "Did Hitler do something wrong?"
His art might pop out there.
Hitler did nothing wrong.
Right.
Yeah, his art must be just popping out there, and they're like,
Yeah.
well, and then it's like the
Yo.
Polanski thing where it's like, hey, do you know he did this? Like, okay, but this painting is amazing. Don't yeah, like, this is so nice. But yeah, because like, okay, here's another thing. Why? Okay, I've grown up with Psi, and I grew up in like Silicon Valley, that type of stuff. We've known Indian people for this whole time. I hear about India being like, mystical and like these ancient things. Like I don't really get that from the people that are here though. Like they're very hyper practical. Like it's like there's like no like they're like what happened.
It's a paradox. It's a weird.
Yeah.
No,
it is,
100%.
it is a paradox, and it is. I think
Yeah.
it's. There is something. Okay, so like, what happens with Christians who grow up Christian? So I grew up in the middle of the country, right? And so like we have mega churches, and there was like that video that went viral of like a church in Dallas where there's like a floating Santa Claus display with like all this light up shit, And if you look into Christianity, it is by far, hands down, bar none, the best religion out there, period.
Yeah,
right?
agreed.
It's the coolest. It's got the best philosophy. When thinkers are really thinking about Christianity, it slaps like 100%. But then like you get to people who have just generation after generation, like they've lived with these signs and symbols for so long that it's just, it becomes self-evident, and you don't have to do any thinking anymore. You can just live by those signs and symbols. And I think that's what happened with India as well, right?
Yeah.
Like the Ramayana slaps. Like that shit's fucking cool. The Bhagavad Gita, also very cool. Not Christian level, but still pretty fucking cool. But
yeah.
And
I
also,
just think that, like,
listen to
when
their
you're
Tao.
surrounded by it,
Yeah.
like, also there's way too many monkeys there.
Yeah.
I think that's a problem too.
And also, if the Taoists were all the stuff, all the Chinese wisdom, if you read that shit, they're clowning on normal Chinese bros. So they're like, "What? We don't fuck with the people in the city."
There's always squares.
There's all about the squares.
Well,
Dude, it was all about the
that's the thing, is it could be that all the squares move.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's maybe a survivorship bias kind of thing where you're getting a certain sort of personality type that is going to come to America, where you get some like real mystic dude out in some hill village in India. He's not thinking about moving to Silicon Valley.
No,
you know.
Yeah. And there
I think that's a part of it too.
And there are also way too many monkeys. Like that being that close to our closest cousins. Like you're going to become monkey.
You can be eaten by a tiger out there too.
Yeah,
and
it can.
It is a paradox. It is weird. It's like, come on, like people in India, self-aware people in India know that there's a huge problem with shit on the streets and garbage on the streets. Like they're like, this has to change, you know. And then it's just weird. It's like the caste system, and then you have these weird gurus that many of them are authentic, but then there's like the scammer culture that infiltrates it too. It's all tied up together.
Dude, Indian scammers they're so fucking funny, dude.
Yeah.
It's like the scammer calls were like, so I saw one the other day where like this white girl just kept a Indian scammer on the phone by pretending to be in love with him. And she was like, she's like, oh, India, I love your voice. He's like, please give me your social security number. She's like, I will, but
that's the Uno reverse card.
In a stack, man. I'm just feeling you. Yeah, I like that. And that's interesting because, like, you know, you think about like you said, like also, by the way, Psi, it could be too much fiber in the diet.
Yeah.
Indians do eat a lot of fiber. It might just be a fiber situation.
It's interesting. Well, I want to go. I still want to go. I mean, people are like, no.
You bet to be on your Eat, Pray, Love shit.
Dude,
I
will. If we make enough money, we will send you out there on like reconnaissance. Like
that would be pretty cool. Live in the field. Yeah, that'd be great.
I would love it.
I'll be honest about it too. But the thing is, I wouldn't. There are places in the world where I wouldn't want to take my wife, and that might be one of them. Dude,
dude, I got the best thing. We do a size segment where he goes to India, and we call it Jeet, Pray, Love.
Yes.
Yes. I was thinking about. Well, we were
say it. That's a good one. You had a good one.
I was thinking about like some kind of bit. Maybe you guys could novelize this, the Sandeep state. You know,
that's actually a really good name for your show. Like you go out there and it's kind of YouTube vloggy. You're not being mean. Like you're doing everything like that's done. Because I know you would assimilate like really well. And like for me, I can't be there because it's a disaster if I'm there. Like I just not.
Oh, dude, nobody has manners there.
No, not even that. I would be like. I would just be like just laughing at somebody. I have like that uncomfortable tick where I was just like, "You serious with those pants, dude? Like, what the fuck?" Like, you know, like I would just be saying stuff like that. It would ruin the content, is what I mean. Like, so it would be like you could go there like full travel selfie stick, you know what I mean? Like doing the thing, like Spanish guitar music playing, like with your escapes and stuff. But like you do it, like I think it would be really fun to like show like, oh, this is what India is. Like there's a guy named Small Brained American who has a great YouTube channel. Tried to get him on the show. He said no, because I think it causes him more trouble to come on here than good probably. But he was
many such cases.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably. But you know, in a perfect world someday, but he was like he does the same thing where he just goes over there and he's like, this is cool, that sucks. And like there are people in the comments that are like, you can't say that sucks. He's like, have you been here? And they're like, that part sucks. Like he's like, this part really cool. And it's like like honest travel vlogging is a thing, and like you would be good at that. Like I'd be good in the US.
Dude, and let's be honest, they're the horniest bros of all time. There are many Eat, Pray, Love millennial chick has gone out there and just like gone to the beach and been swarmed.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, you guys got to chill out there a little bit.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a reason the AI women thing it takes off. Like it's just, but anyways,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's a lot of that's good. I'm glad we got to the bottom of that because nobody will ever talk about that from that perspective. Because it's all
we're not haters. There's not hate in our heart. We're just forcing, dude. I'm sorry, dude. It's
no,
like,
and when you go on, and when you you go on Twitter, not that life is Twitter, but it kind of is because I was realizing the other day, like I've never believed that everybody's online. I'm like, no, not everyone knows what this random Twitter account is. Like that's you. But like you'll go online and you'll be like, I was spent a week looking at this quote unquote discourse or whatever. And then like the other guy watched the Costco family at your work, the normie guy. Like he spent just as much time watching that Costco Italian/Jewish family, like watching them like go to. So I'm like, okay, he spent the same amount of time watching something that's just as meaningless. So there is this level. Of that.
Whenever I go to work, if I like see like a crazy gore video, everybody at work has seen the Costco family and that gore video.
And that
right?
video.
Yeah.
Cartel.
Like,
hits
you're
are
just
big
you're just getting fed. You're just getting fed snuff films constantly.
Oh,
It's-
dude! Like,
Cartel
I was watching this one today. It was like David Simmons shared it in the chat, and it was an altercation at a gas station where a woman smashed a bottle on someone's car, and then the woman in the car gets out and just shoots her to death. And I was like, I was at work. I was like, Brian, you seen this shit? He's like, oh yeah, I got that. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Why are you watching old shit, dude? Why are you watching old shit, dude?
Yeah.
That's from May of 2024. Why are you watching?
Yeah.
That? Right. Yeah. I just like to me, I hate what I mean is I see this kind of like really NPC, almost AI discourse where I know both sides are going to be the take. I know exactly what it is. They're going to miss the point that I think. And not that there's a centrist to it, but it's just this level of nuance that I think red-blooded Americans, when they're not like just being intentionally stupid on the internet, right? Yeah. Just seeing what it actually is. And like real, and you corner some of these people, like you'll corner the people who are like, yeah, I'm like racist on the internet. That's my thing. And you're like, oh, they don't. And then you'll talk to them and they're like, oh, they're not. I don't actually think that. I just, you have to realize that this and that. And then you talk to somebody who's like hyper anti-racist on the internet and they might laugh at like your little off-color joke in real life. Yeah. And you realize you're like, the nuance is there. Like, stop performing. Like, just it bothers the hell out of me when
just
I see.
Be racist. What's your
like the normal amount.
Yeah.
Like I said, the
Shane Gillis, dude, the Shane Gillis.
The Shane Gillis.
The cilantro
cheeseburger.
theory.
Yeah.
It's the cilantro theory. Too much cilantro is terrible. The right amount makes everything good. And like you can taste it immediately. You can tell that it's there. You can tell when somebody took a fucking handful of it and like made then the whole dish taste like what cilantro. It's like the right amount of thing. The same thing goes with autism. Like the right amount is perfect. A little bit too much, and everyone's like, man, go easy on that. And it's just. Like, and it's not something I feel they need to enforce UK style. I don't like rules against that. I think people should be allowed to like show their ass, like metaphorically speaking, on the internet, because you are allowed to show your ass on the internet, but like show your ass and look stupid, and that's okay. Like you look stupid. People made fun of you, but I'm just like, why do people just like pick these like insane, like it's like the cow with the tunnel, like the meme, the cow with the tunnel, where it's like both sides lead to like one thing. It kind of does, right? Like I'm like. I don't know. I feel like it didn't used to be like that. And I feel like a lot of people have so much idle time that they just feel the need to play a team sport game, like with and kind of like, this whole thing where we started this thing. I didn't want to be a part of a collective. I wanted to start our thing and kind of, boost what we say out there, whether it's funny, whether it's serious, whether it's not. But there's a lot of people that are like, no, I want like a team. And I'm like, oh, I don't. You must be young, is the way I look at it. If I found out you were 22 years old, I'd be like, oh, you're not black-pilled on the community aspect, because I am. Because I want nothing to do with that now at this point. When I was 22, I thought like, oh, there's that right friend group for me out there. That right, like they're just out there. They go to a different school, and but now I'm kind of like. I'm kind of, but when I see people that like, if I find out they're my age, I'm like, this is what you're doing. Like this is what.
Oh, it's embarrassing.
Oh.
So embarrassing when it's somebody who's our age. I'm almost 40 years old. Like if you're out here doing the team sports, fucking like even when people when there's like kind of a meme going around Twitter and somebody does their version of it.
Yes.
Low key, I'm kind of like fag.
Yeah. It comes in. No, exactly. Like you're kind of like, and like you can tell when somebody's doing it like to be funny, and then when somebody's like, I got to get in on this meme, and you're just like, please.
Yeah.
Right.
Mushroom reishi extracts. Like there's so many things that we can do to get you out of this, but you don't want to get out of this. You want and that's like what, like that's kind of that debate when I saw the whole like when really it's like, do I want the high tech society? When I saw that, I saw so many people where I go, even people that I've agreed with on like COVID, all of these other things. If I told them like, hey, we could have the things that we want right now that we've agreed, we want affordable housing, some sensible immigration laws, like things like that, just all the things that the base side of like Twitter wants. But I told you like you had to go back to like an iPod. How many? You'd be shocked at how many people would go. I'd rather just scream and cry about.
It's like Squid Games when they're like, you can vote, you can leave right now, and they're like, oh, I really want that extra. I just saw my friend got murdered.
That's a good point, dude. That's a good point because I do think that we can, like, it doesn't even have to be primitivism.
Yeah,
we could take a few steps back, and everything could be cool.
Yeah,
and I'd be totally down with it. Like
I don't even think you have to go that far back. I think you could go back to like 2008, and it'd be like I'd be all right. Yeah,
you'd be fine.
Yeah.
Have your iPod with like 500 songs on it that you preloaded. You'd have to go back. Kelby and I were talking about this on the last Agitator, but the biggest thing is you know how people used to be like crate diggers, right? Like you used to have to like find tunes by going.
The search was fun. The search
was fun. And I've been going to a bunch of used bookstores around like half price books. And we got this really great one at the outlet mall. And I've just been trying to find shit that has cool covers that I've never heard of, like authors that disappeared, and like buy those books and read them. Yeah, like that element of looking for cool shit has just like been completely subsumed by the constant feed, the algorithm. And it's almost like people, it's like we're talking about kids with their fucking iPads and not knowing what to do. When Brad says, we could go back to 2008, you totally could. You would just have to start looking for shit again. But then those fucking wheels would start turning again, and shit would start being found again. That's the dark side of the algorithm for people like us, dude, is like, the algorithm does not favor books that you and I write, right?
No,
like books that you and I write are favored
the algorithm doesn't favor the name J. David Osborne and Brad Kelly.
No,
like the actual name itself does not. Yeah. You need to be like Brad Kelly Shabazz, dude. Is like
yo, that'd be so sick.
Brad Kelly Abdul Jabbar.
Right.
You're
I just act exactly the same, but I wear like that like dashiki thing.
Did you guys give Mark Twain? Did you guys give Samuel Clemens this kind of grief? I don't think so.
Samuel Clemens.
But I really do think that just rolling everything back would be a net positive for everything.
Yeah,
right?
But the kicking and screaming would shock you.
It would.
And screaming would shock you, and from the people you wouldn't expect it is what I hate. Yeah, and the search, like you're getting, this is beautiful because I just 2 days ago, my wife and I, we like to go down to Steinbeck country every so often. I'm covering east of Eden, so I wanted to it's just an hour drive from us. So we go, and my wife's been looking for Judith Krantz' Scruples, the book, for the longest time. Like she's been looking for it. We can order it online. It's like you can get it. It's not a big deal. She wanted to find it in a store. She wanted to find oh yeah, it's right here. Cool. And like, that's like part of the thing, like finding it and just being like, that's sick.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just like, wow. It's not the money. It's not trying to save X amount of dollars by finding it in the store. It's finding the book that you were looking for in the store is so much better than having that book just curated to you and fall and like Call of Duty, like this, like thing that lands, from like a helicopter. That's like, oh, here's your thing now. And it's like, that might be satisfying for a fraction of a second, but then you're chasing minor fractions of a second of satisfaction for the rest of your life, and you're in the hamster wheel.
And it's a weird satisfaction too, because it's not real satisfaction.
Right.
Nothing compares to finding something that you were not looking for. Right.
Yes.
I know it's a little different than the Scruples example, but
Right.
crate digging is just, it's
Yes.
totally random. Right. And if the algorithm was totally random, I've said this before, like Twitter would be, for me at least, a rabbit hole that I would disappear down and exist in forever if it was truly random. But it's this idea of this big brother being like, hey, we noticed that, hey, you kind of like Star Wars. So do you think you'd like this other thing? I hate that shit. Right. But people, it's not that people like it or dislike it. They're just used to it.
Yeah.
And they don't, like, they've lost that muscle that shows them how to go look for something. When I first started publishing, fucking holy shit. Oh my God, 15 years ago now. Like the algorithms were not that good, but people found us, right? Like my biggest readership and like kind of the people who I hung out with, like they made entire lives out of writing books because they knew that there are people who would look for those books.
Yeah.
And then at a certain point, those doors started to close and algorithms started to become a thing. And you started seeing authors have to get more on TikTok and Bookstagram and all this kind of shit. But back in the day, you could just write, like one of my good buddies, a guy named Carlton Mellick. He lives in Portland. He writes bizarro fiction. And he wrote a book called Satan Burger, right? And the cover of it is just a dude on all fours, and you see his ass cheeks, right? And there's like a plate positioned like right under his ass cheeks. Satan Burger has now sold over 1 million copies.
Holy
what?
And a lot of that, and you never heard of it, right?
Yeah.
And he's just a dude, like he's a giant, like 6'5" dude who wears Columbine trench coats and watches K-pop videos all day.
I would have
long.
never guessed.
But that dude has made a life out of writing because he was searchable, right? He was not a part of the algorithm. And I don't really know, outside of having conversations like these that people hear and then start to take on as a challenge. I don't know how to beat the algorithm, but I do know that if we want independent art to exist, it's not some huge cultural thing that has to change, right? People's attitudes toward art do not have to change. People's motivation to search for art has to change. It's actually at the level of the consumer.
And guess what? Any author that says that is coping. I don't write books. I can say it. I'm a reader. And that's exactly what I do. There's only a few podcasts about books that aren't by writers. Like truly, like it's mostly like, I mean, and look, it's not really that shocking, right? A lot of pro sports content is by ex-athletes. Like it is what it is. But for me, I'm always like, no, it's kind of on you to find books. Go to the bookstore. It's not that hard. Like go to the bookstore. Don't be scared of the
something
flags.
that you didn't come there for.
Don't be scared of the flags or the masked greyhound wispy woman that's at the front. Don't be scared of her. Like, don't be scared. You walk in there. I swear to God, when I went to I found Michelle Welbeck's submission at Powell's Books on Hawthorne Street.
Hey.
If you've ever been there, they would not be in. I mean, like half of the people that were shopping in there would not be a fan.
That's the smaller one,
right?
Yeah, that's the one next to all the.
Dude, I love buying dissident books at that shop because it's just like. You know,
I don't know. To me, I don't think they had a clue what it was. Like that was the vibe I got. Like I was like, guess what? Like you have an upper hand, and it's not just buzz music. It's anything. Like go search for something. It's more fun. Like it's and just being curated to like there are good curators out there. There's also there's AI curations now, which suck. Like you are buying into a false consensus reality by that. And there is a natural human, and it's why we're different. It's why we're different than other species. Like we go look for stuff that we can suffer more. Like we can suffer more. You know, like a dog can only suffer because of like 3 or 4 different things. Like we can suffer out from a bad day at work. So we are more hypersensitive. We have the ability to destroy ourselves. We also have the ability to go explore and find shit that like no one else could ever find. You know, and scale that way back down to just finding a cool ass book. You know, like and that's like for me, I'm reading the show is for me to read and have like a kind of deadline, kind of like a school situation, but also it's kind of like for you guys to write your books, there has to be an audience Like, and there has to be.
That's my thing.
It's changing the demand. It's changing
That's
the
it.
demand.
That's
There's
it.
the supply is there. I know that the supply is there, and also the
Oh,
supply
yeah.
could be upped if people, like you said, if people knew that there were hungry people. Like, yeah, okay, I read a cool 70s extreme literary fiction that was kind of like based and stuff. That's cool. Is there that now? Why can't I find that now?
Right.
Well, people need to know that that's what you want to read. And
exactly.
and it is a complete supply and demand thing. Again, but when you hear most writers, if writers complain about lack of readership, everyone just rolls their eyes. Like
They do, and that's okay. Like, that's fine. I get it. Like, that's totally fine. I went into a half price the other day, and I found this paperback by a guy called Michael Asher, who I'd never heard of before. The book was called The Eye of Ra. The cover was just
cool.
The Eye of Ra, and the tagline for the book was "All the secrets of the Pharaoh's curse will be revealed." I was like, cool, buying it. I'm in. Let's go.
Wow.
I found another one called The Last Ranger, and it was a sequel to a series set in 2035 about, it's like Walker, Texas Ranger in the future. And the cover's like a dude in like blue jeans and cowboy boots, but he's got this high-tech cyberpunk weapon, right?
there you
I'm
go.
like, cool, buying it.
All right.
Yeah. But I do, everything, Glenn, that you said was 100% true. And, when my book comes out, I'm going to do all the advertising on it.
Yeah, you have to.
And all that kind of shit that you have to. But like, I do think that this whole attitude has, like, there was a tweet from Breast Milk Enjoyer, which is like a really strange name to have as your Twitter thing. It's probably like a 4 levels deep in joke that I don't understand.
Yeah, it's
But
one
he
with
was-
Stone
he was
Cold
like-
Steve Austin has milk all over his face. I'm familiar.
But Anna Katchian responded to it, and there was this like mini conversation about there's been no film that's been culturally significant for the past 15 years. Then go watch an old one. Or go find a movie that didn't come out in
No,
theaters.
that part's true. And the thing is like there's a lot of people that make these things or fund these things. They're soulless people. You know what I mean? Like, they're not these people. Like, there are ideologues. Yes, there is dark money that wants a certain, aesthetic or a certain, point hammered through. But a lot of people, like I'll put it this way: Mel Gibson got $40 million to make Apocalypto from the people who hated Passion of the Christ.
Right.
So if we have it, when people see that there's a demand for something, it's like Joe Rogan. They tried to make Jason Kelsey's wife like more popular than Joe Rogan. Nobody believed it. Joe Rogan for a long time was considered like an enemy, a political enemy. There are many people who think he swayed the election, and there's reason to believe that maybe he did.
He did.
To a certain way. Guess what? People still want to go see what he has to say. People still want to, like, there is still these in routes to it where you like I said, you have to do a couple extra steps. And like, there are people, I will say with the cover thing, I love my Kindle. I love reading it, but I do think the Kindle has killed the book cover, unfortunately. Because when I was reading Emily,
it has
Russo,
to pop on a little screen. Like
it does, but they just started making the Kindles in color now, so I guess that'll help. But like, Emily Russo's book that I loved, Vivian, like on Kindle doesn't it, like on black and white, it does, the cover doesn't pop. It's a big pink book though. When you see it in person, you're like, whoa, what's that? With a cool painting, you're like, that's really cool. If you were to see it in person, so I think that helps. Covers, like, I mean, dude, people will buy it in general just to have it in their house. I mean, you hope they crack it open one day, but in general, that's the case. But well, guys, thanks for coming on. That was quite a fun time.
I had a great time.
Quickest way to pass 2 hours, I'd say. I mean, that is like, that is, 2 hours at work is like insane, but 2 hours,
it's totally different.
It's just absolutely nothing. And I attribute that to the 4-minute time lapse thing that Ty was talking about.
That makes sense.
There's something to that.
And I was 4 minutes late, so 5.
That's
6.
Who's counting? Who's counting?
It's all adding up, I guess.
I'll crunch the numbers after the episode. You have to. We do this.
If you really want to get ahead in this hyper competitive podcast market,
exactly. Put in another 2 hours after.
Yeah, we just start like Huberman tracking our like guests. Brad and David have both been on Gain of Fiction before, and they most certainly will be again. And like you said, Brad, say the name of the podcast one more time. The
Method and Madness.
And it's not out yet.
Madmethodpod.com. Nope, there will be. I don't know how quick you turn these around, but early January. There'll be an episode soon.
Immediately. But and then of course David from Agitator. Please support his work. He has many books out. The French don't like you, apparently. I always love those stories.
They hate my guts. Yeah,
that's crazy.
It's winning, dude.
Yeah.
I
was so excited too. Because I was a kid and got published by like one of the biggest crime presses in France, and they flew me out, and I was super.
You look
excited.
so happy in the picture, dude.
And
it's like Mulholland Drive. It was your Mulholland Drive, dude.
I spent the whole time drunk, missed signings. Everybody hated my guts.
Damn.
I was hanging out with some cool people there too. Krista Faust was awesome. Like, she writes some really cool, like pulpy, porny crime novels. Jet Airs, but the whole France thing was cool. But then the reviews came out, and they were like, "This is not a book.
You cannot cut a butt cheek off with samurai sword. You cannot do that. It would hurt."
I was like, "All right, so much for that."
Exactly. So make sure you guys go listen to Agitator, of course. And for us, like I said, go to rarecandy.substack.com. Size writing is there, and our premium episode feed is there. Highly recommend, guys. And on that note, everybody have a safe week, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Thanks, sir.